What I'm suicide, right?
She comes up here. So do you want to
Yeah,
recognize her?
this is,
Just recognize her. Yeah, of course. Mics. I've got two mics. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're doing.
Well, you'll know.
Yeah.
He starts to,
yeah, what do you want me to sign?
because it's like, oh, he's right there.
Well, it's funny that we're
Ready to roll? Yeah.
You could taxpayer money at work.
at work.
Oh, this door over here. Yeah, good. Did you, hey. Yeah. Well, are we ready to go?
Are
Are we ready?
ever going to be?
Good. Hey, welcome everybody tonight to our town council meeting for October 12th. It is about 30 seconds before 7 o'clock, but we're going to call the roll and get started. Madam Clerk.
James Morelli.
Here.
Christopher Palmieri.
Here.
Christopher Poulos.
Here.
Paul Chaplinsky.
Here.
Michael Del Santo.
Present.
Valerie DiPaolo.
Here.
William Diedzik.
Here.
Tom Lombardi.
Here.
Victoria Triano.
I am here. Thank you. Can we all stand for the prayer and the flag salute, please?
Heavenly Father, may we consider the people of Southington and always render what is right and just for our citizens. Help us to be compassionate and caring for each individual while still seeking what is appropriate for our entire community. Give us wisdom and guidance. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, everyone. May be seated. May I have a motion on the minutes, please, from our previous meeting?
I'll make a
that
motion
motion, Madam Chair.
and I'll
Thank
second.
you. And Chris is going to second it. Thank you very much. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any objections?
Abstain.
One abstention. Thank you so much. Before we get into councilperson's communication, I would like to have Barbara Coleman come forward from our chamber, Southington Chamber of Commerce. She'd like to address us with a proposal. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Double-sided. Very green.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Sure.
Yeah.
Good. I'd like to thank all of you for allowing me to present in front of you this evening. I am, president of the Chamber of Commerce. This is my second go-around. I was here many years ago, and one of the items that I'm speaking on tonight has to do with a accumulation of the efforts of the Chamber of Commerce working in public and private partnership over the many years. So I'm very honored tonight on this particular issue. I gave you all a copy of what I'm going to read, but I would like to read it if you'll allow. If you take a stroll through the center of Southington and take the time to look at every aspect of the streetscaping, curbing, lighting, and even the building elevations, you cannot help but notice the attention to detail that was taken in its design. Most of the detail and inspiration for the original downtown Southington Renaissance project came from the vision of Matt Florian. Under Matt's leadership, the Chamber's Economic Development Committee secured a $500,000 state grant in November of 1998, which led to the streetscape beautification improvements we enjoy today, including brick sidewalks, lampposts, benches, trees, and more. While Matt was extremely busy rebuilding the real estate in downtown, he felt it was important for the town to improve the public spaces at the same time, to present a cohesive retail district that could attract new businesses to where they could relocate and flourish. With the help of the Greater Southington Chamber of Commerce, Matt took his vision and ideas for a beautiful downtown to the Southington Town Council and worked side by side with all involved to bring vision to reality. Matt strongly believed in and supported the need for Southington's private and public sectors working together with a common goal of improving Southington. Matt's attention to detail is evident in the granite curbs, the granite inlays on the sidewalks, the steel tree grates and vaults, and right down to the benches and sanitation vehicles. He had a passion for the final look and would travel the world getting ideas to bring back to his hometown that he loves so much. Although at times the enormity of the Renaissance project was overwhelming, Matt never gave up in his determination to see it through to the end, and in multiple phases. The results today speak for themselves. Knowing full well that any successful retail and office environment would rely on adequate parking, Matt's second task in creating a vibrant business district was to tackle the numerous private parking areas in downtown. As a private citizen and then as a member of the Southington Parking Authority, Matt again sought the partnership with the community to tear down the fences and create public, free municipal lots throughout downtown Southington and Plantsville. He devoted years of his life to negotiating and implementing all the public lots that we all enjoy and perhaps take for granted today. His vision for vast public parking in our central business districts set the path for years of success in attracting businesses to Southington. Matt's passion for detail was not saved just for public spaces. He always went above and beyond in the detail of his projects to set new standards of acceptability in street elevation design, as in evident in just a few of his numerous projects in Southington: 1 Center Street, Abbey Park, 98 Main Street, and most recently, the former Rite Aid building on Main Street. By pushing the limits on design, Matt set the bar for future property owners to meet or exceed, and it has worked, with other investors and entrepreneurs following suit with stunning projects being constructed in both town centers. Whatever Matt accomplished in the partnership with the community or in his own successes, he did it very humbly and without need for recognition and the spotlight. Projects such as the Southington Community Cultural Arts Center and the Workout Gym at Southington High School are just 2 examples of many, where Matt stepped up with his family by his side to tackle projects that benefited the entire community, and he did it quietly. It is without question that the beautiful downtown communities of Southington and Plantsville would not look like or feel like what they do today without the vision, dedication, determination, and willpower of Matt and the Florian family. Matt's contributions to our community will be enjoyed and built upon for many years to come. In honor of Matt and in recognition of his numerous contributions to the economic development and vitality of Southington, the Greater Southington Chamber of Commerce Incorporated proposes that the municipal parking lot on Main Street be named the Matt Florian Municipal Parking Lot, and the access entrance from Center Street, currently Center Place, be named Matt Florian's Way. On behalf of the Board of Directors, I thank you for your time and consideration, and I ask that you support a favorable vote. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Barbara. If you could just stay up at the podium, please, because I do want us, if there are any questions that we have, one thing that's very important for us to really understand what we're talking about. So as we're heading west down Center Street, there is the old popular parking lot, what we call it old park. And so that entrance is Center
Smart to
Place,
Center
correct?
Place, correct.
So it's just that entrance, but we're also talking about the municipal parking that is that it leads to. Is that
Correct.
correct? Just so we all get a visual. We didn't have a map. I want to make sure we all understand what we're talking about. So thank you. We'll probably discuss this further. I think we will wait till next meeting for action on it. There are a couple of things that we do want to talk about. Matt certainly gave his love for this town first in his heart, and was loved, I'm sure, by all of us here. But so we do want to talk further about it. I know, Michael, you wanted to be here to support this. Is that correct? Michael, do you want to add anything to Barbara's statement?
Thank you. Mike Riccio, 124 Andrew Street. I was going to speak in public communications, but this is fine. Words can't express enough what Matt's impact was, and Barbara kind of laid it out very nicely here, that his impact on the community from an aesthetic point of view, but also an economic development point of view, and then all the things that he did on the side. It's been a tragic year for the family, and I think this is a very appropriate dedication to somebody that had such a great impact on our community. And I realize that there are some
Logistics.
that have to be worked out. But I would say that, if you were going to name a school building, there's decades of school board members that, could possibly be named. That school could be named, and the same could go for parks boards and all that. But when you're looking at a parking lot, and especially in the direct downtown area, the impact that one specific individual had, both from his hard work, sweat and tears and money on the private sector, but then again in the public sector, his dedication to a vision of wide sidewalks where we now have outdoor dining that we didn't have, and the beautification of granite curbs and trees and everything that brought people to come to the downtown and gave interest in the downtown community to build all these new buildings on Center Street and Main Street. I don't think there's one other individual that you can point to. So I think some of the logistics that you have to work around could be easily explained because of that. So I think it's very appropriate. I worked alongside Matt for many, many years in both privately and publicly, more publicly than anything. And his drive and ambition were amazing, and we all benefited from it. So thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Mike. Anybody have any upfront questions? Do you want to just digest it a little bit, and we can reserve our comments for next meeting? Is that okay with everybody? Very good. Barbara, thank you so much for bringing this to our attention. Thank you. I would like to open up council matter communications. I'm going to be first, if that's okay, because I can. I want to thank Councilwoman DiPaolo and Councilman Chris Palmieri, Councilman Jim Morelli, and Councilman Paul Chaplinsky. We and myself met at Company 3 today. The governor came to acknowledge the SAFER grant that was awarded to our Southington Fire Department, and it was wonderful. Following the, and somebody else can talk about that if they'd like, but following that, the governor asked me personally if he could meet with me for a cup of coffee. You don't often get a chance to do that, so I was very honored. And we talked about Southington. We talked about the needs of Southington right now, and I personally talked about some of the concerns we've had with the car break-ins and the burglary and the youth, and also part of the accountability bill, which was very important. We talked a little bit about that. We talked about our schools and the need to be cognizant of increase in attendance and also the emotional problems that our kids are seeming to face. We talked about healthcare, and as COVID continues, somewhat less, but our numbers are great. But so it was a very wonderful meeting. I gave him one of our town seal, our pins, and I said, Governor, I said, this just seals the deal. And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, you shake hands with a person, you make eye contact with them, but then you give them something so they'll always remember you. And I said, now you have no excuses not to remember Southington. So I really enjoyed meeting with the governor, and I look forward to him coming more often to Southington to open up lines of communication directly with his office. So I just wanted to say that. I want to open it up. Yeah, Paul?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have two items that I wanted to give you a quick shout out on. Chris Palmera and I had an opportunity last night to meet with a local team of Cub Scouts who we were invited to come discuss how government operates and answer some of their questions. And I think that they had some pretty difficult questions that they threw at us. And it was really interesting because they were very engaged, and every time we answered, the brains were firing, and they were thinking about the next question and building on the question that they had. So I'm sure I could speak for Councilman Palmeri, but we had a really good time with the Cub Scouts as they were working to earn one of the badges through the activity. On a similar note, I've been mentoring a Boy Scout, Michael O'Sullivan, and I've updated a couple times in the last couple months on this. The fruits of Michael's labors to work towards his Eagle Scout project is coming to fruition this week. So this Friday, he is going to be seeing a bunch of volunteers at the garden next to DePaulo, and he's going to be replacing the fence that was removed there through volunteer work as well. So he's donating all of the materials, getting all the volunteer time. Volunteer time is going to be this Friday afternoon after school and Saturday. So if you get an opportunity to drop by, please drop by and say hi to Michael and the volunteers and thank him for his efforts towards our community.
Paul, what time Friday?
Friday after school, 2:30ish,
Okay.
probably till dark, and then Saturday starting in the morning.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair.
Someone else? Val, did you have something?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So just a couple things. I just wanted to say how great it was to have the Apple Festival back. I think everybody probably enjoyed it. So I wanted to just really give a thank you to Councilors Palmieri and Lombardi for their work.
Thank you.
Dave LaPre, all his staff, and all the volunteers. It was just just really good. Just really to feel like
Community coming.
yeah, connection, and we're back a little bit. So that was one thing. The second thing is I just wanted to mention October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And, it's just so important to recognize that and not only celebrate the survivors, the survival rate has gotten much better, but just to remind, women in your life that, please schedule mammograms and screenings and, and get those done. It's just really important. So, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Chris Poulos, I saw your hand.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have two items I'd like to share. One is from September 23rd. I apologize that at the last meeting I had left my notes at home, and I wanted to have an accurate report of the Volunteer Firefighters Recruitment and Retention Committee, which met in person for the first time in a long time. Things kind of got delayed because of COVID. And just wanted to update the community that we currently have 3 volunteers in training, and then 4 applications are pending. So there are active volunteers moving into the department. The committee's working on a few things. They're working on a high school recruitment. And so the chief and the chair of the fire commission have an appointment at the high school with the guidance department. They can set up a way to be connected to students who might be interested in pursuing a career in fire and starting off as a volunteer and getting that training, which is part of the training of the program preparation. They're working on a community education program. You might have seen this at the Apple Harvest Festival. They were set up. They had an engine there, a truck there, and they want to talk not just about volunteers, but they want to highlight the positives of volunteering, which I think is a good approach in our community. And they're going to continue with social media. So that committee's up and running, and it's got kind of a renewed vigor. And I'm hopeful that it's great to hear that we're making advancements on the career side with the SAFER grant, but also simultaneously we're working on the volunteer side. We are one combined department, and that's what works well for our community. The second thing I wanted to bring up was on October 6th, last Wednesday. We had a public works meeting here, and it was a little bit longer than usual. But afterwards, I escaped out across the street over to the orchards, and I was able to participate in the drive-by parade to honor Walter Hushak, his 98th birthday. And I shared on social media, but I'll say for the public record, when I was a kid, and my father was active in town, and he'd come home. I'd follow him around when he did his errands on Saturday, and we'd go to the bank, Southington Savings Bank, and so forth. And he'd always point out town folks. And Walter was one of those people who he would always say, Mr. Hushak over there has just given so much service. He'd talk about his military service. My dad was in the Army. And when I was an adult later on, 2017, I got a chance to spend some time with Mr. Hushak at the Wall of Honor induction ceremony. He was inducted to the Wall of Honor at the high school as a graduate, and it was quite moving to be able to just be in his presence and interact with him. Before I heard stories, and now I was interacting with him at that ceremony. And so I got out of my car. I don't know if I violated any of the parking or the driving parade rules, and I went up to Mr. Hushak, and I just was proud to shake his hand. And I did wish him a happy birthday on behalf of the town council.
Excellent, yeah.
And so it was a great opportunity. And so if you do see him around, you can give him a belated birthday.
It
Thank
was great. I was there a bit earlier.
Oh, yeah, sure. Did you get out of your car?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. glad I wasn't
Chris,
the only
we're on the
one.
town council.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the police they didn't mind. They gave me a pass.
They were
So,
very
yeah.
good. Orchards did a job. Yeah, it was wonderful.
Madam Chair,
Mr.
yes.
Sant-
A couple of things. I had the opportunity and pleasure yesterday morning of attending the Christopher Columbus dedication, Columbus Day ceremony yesterday morning outside of the municipal center here. And there was the Sons of Italy Club, Columbus, and the Unico Club, and the Sorel d'Italia in America. They all had very nice things to say. Proud of our Italian American heritage, and it was a wonderful event. They put a flower out and put flowers out front of Columbus Avenue, which is every year. So very nice. Mr. Plinsky was there, and yourself, Madam Chair, were there, so it was very nice to see you as well. And it was a very nice event. And just to add on to what Val said, I mentioned it 2 weeks ago. I was looking forward to the apple harvest, and now I'm sad it's over. Driving through on Sunday evening, seeing them taking down the tents, and even Monday morning when you drive through, seeing all the tents coming down. It was just a great 2 weeks, and can't say enough. Val nailed it, but with Chris and Tom and Dave LaPre, I was there probably 8 times in the past 2. Every time I went, they were there. They were running around like with their heads cut off and working and sweating, and they really put the time and the effort in. So thank you guys very much for your hard work and dedication to Apple Harvest. It's so important to the town. So really great. And then lastly, tomorrow night at 6:30 on the town green, the Red Ribbon Rally.
Red Ribbon Rally.
Be there or be square. I'll be there with my boys. And
30 years I've stood on that green.
I know. Rain, shine. I've sat through the rain.
Chris has been there for not 30 years. Chris.
Right.
You've
I'm
gotten
looking forward to
whippersnapper,
it.
but-
And, my son plays, he's on the freshman football team. So he had to run inside today and get his jersey. He goes, we're going to the rally tomorrow night. So very excited to see students excited to go.
Yeah,
They
wonderful.
can hang out with their buddies. So we're looking forward to it tomorrow.
Please, everybody come out. It's such a wonderful,
Yes.
wonderful activity.
Yes. It's not a long time. It's short. It's fun. Victoria and Mrs. Kennefick scream and yell. And
Yeah.
we get
You
mad
know
at
what?
the kids. That's okay.
Back up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's it for me.
Thank you so much. Anybody else? Chris?
A couple things. First of all, just to reiterate what you mentioned earlier about the visit today.
Yes, please do.
From
I didn't
the
get
governor,
it,
the
but I was
congressman,
hoping
and the lieutenant governor. One of the things that I think struck me the most is Congressman Larson, how he obviously did something to help us, but he was very correct in stating that it was really due to the efforts of our men in the department
Yes.
that took the time to write the grant, that take the time day to day to ensure our community is safe. So I honestly think he said it best when he talked about how we're very lucky and fortunate to have such a strong department in our community. So just a special shout out to our Southington Fire Department and congratulations for adding those 3 new officers, which will be huge. The Apple Harvest Festival, I just especially really need to emphasize thanks to, we have 3 staff members that really went above and beyond. Melissa Erickson, who coordinated our sponsorships. She did a great job of securing sponsors, especially in these uncertain economic times due to the pandemic. Julia Bardinelli, who is the assistant festival coordinator, and Dave LaPre, who's the festival coordinator. So Julia and Dave had a great vision for the festival, and just need to acknowledge and thank them for everything they did. Need to thank all the volunteers that were down there, especially helping out in our booths, and especially thanks to the United Way for taking on the task of manning one of the beverage booths completely for us. So that helped relieve some of the responsibilities that we needed to recruit for volunteers for that. And Tom, I want to give you a special shout out because behind the scenes with the financials, you and your team just did an absolutely fantastic job, staying on top of all the numbers, sharing everything out. So really, thank you. I think your expertise really came through throughout the festival with your financial background. So thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Oh, and one last thing. I know we have one more meeting before the election, but I'd like to just acknowledge the library advocacy crew. Hopefully everyone saw the flyer they put together, just getting out the facts. So I just want a reminder to all residents that there is a referendum for our Southington Public Library that's on the ballot on November 2nd. And again, the library advocacy group has done a phenomenal job getting out the facts and really statistics about our current building and why we're where we're at with moving forward with a referendum for that. So if you're not aware, please take the time to research and get out and vote on Election Day.
Very good. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Morelli.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before Tom finishes out the Apple Harvest Festival, I did want to say that I too enjoyed the Apple Harvest Festival, and I particularly enjoyed the parade. I want to thank all the residents that came out and made that a really exciting day for all of us. I was recruited to be on part of the behind the scenes team, which I had never done before, and I
Forced or recruited, whatever.
coerced, recruited. I made the mistake of saying, yeah, I'll help. But I did see that there's an awful lot that goes on behind the scenes I never really understood. And I do have to say, you heard it several times, but I'll say it again. I think Chris, Tom, and Dave, amongst all the other volunteers, really worked tirelessly to make that thing a great festival. And obviously the weather cooperated, so there were a lot of people there. There was a lot of fun, a little bit of an incident, but really, all in all, it was a really great time. And I hope to get a chance to volunteer again next year, Tom.
Great.
And as well, I do want to say congratulations to the SFD. I was there today for the Safer Grant Award, which, as Chris and Vicki already said, was a real honor. I think the governor did a nice job, and Senator Larson appreciated acknowledging their service to our town. And so those 3 firefighters will enable the fire department to staff the house over in Marion. And I think that's a huge thing for the residents. So again, thank you to all those people that did that, and congratulations.
Very good. Anybody else? Yes, Tom.
I guess I'll close it out.
I think you should.
Obviously, big thanks to all the volunteers on the Apple Harvest, and Councilman Morelli and Mr. Pocock from the Board of Finance also helped in my group, so that was great. And I think what we're seeing, and Chris would agree with me, is that it's very important that elected officials see some of these operations, because we have to make sure that the wheels keep turning, not just for this year, next year, but for the future. So that it's very important. And also a special shout out to the police department, the town manager, and Dave LaPre. Obviously, we're all aware of the situation that occurred on the first weekend, and what the police had to not only deal with the actual incident, but the verbal abuse that they received, and the EMTs. It was very disheartening, to say the least. But when you see something like that, you really appreciate how well our police officers are trained, how they keep their composure, they do their investigation, and the Apple Harvest Committee and the police department work together to update the town website, update the social media, and get a statement out relatively quickly. So, thank you to all involved, and especially in the time of crisis.
Very much.
That's it. Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Anyone?
Madam Chair, can I name just one person who's also an unsung hero in this whole thing? Jackie Santos from my finance department. She's one of our accountants, and she was my liaison to Tom and his group, and she did a fantastic job. So she was very complimentary of Tom and his group. So I'm going to say publicly what a great job she did also.
And if I could also add, Anne from finance, she retired. So this is Jackie's first.
Last year would have been her first year, but we didn't have her.
So we can't.
First year.
So this was her first year. So we met with her beforehand, and I could tell she was very excited to help out. And but it's extra work on her plate. So but she's been doing a great job, and I know town manager and Jackie work closely along with Dave. So thank you for pointing that out, Mr. Town Manager.
Good. Anybody else? Well, let's move on. Report of special committees. I have Mr. Del Santo for Public
Thank
Works.
you, Madam Chair. We did have our meeting last Wednesday, October 6th. There's a few things to report out on. We're still talking about West Street, Prospect Street. We got some more ideas. We now have a wish list of some signage that we think should go. We're still waiting to hear back about a traffic study. We did get one proposal, and we're looking for another. So we've got to figure out how to come up with some money to purchase some of the signage that we want there, but that's okay, because it's just too important for the residents in the area. And I will say I'm very happy that people come out to our Public Works meetings that live in the neighborhood and that want to know what's going on. So that was great to see folks come out. I love seeing the democratic process work. And we took their information, and they were very happy to give it to us, and then they left. So it was great. Public Works meetings are open to the public. Anyone can come at any time. Moving on, it's leaf season coming up soon. I know it's Annette's favorite time of year. It's like Christmas for her, a little early, So there will be a schedule, instead of boring everyone with the dates now, but it's going to be starting on October 25th. Is the first day, and I'll have the information up on the town websites, and I can share it on my social media and some of the more popular town social media sites. And if I can ask my fellow council folk to also share. Okay, right. November 1 is the first day, right? So it's not October 25th, 1 week later. So I'll share the information instead of boring everyone with with all of the details. And the transfer station is going to have some extended hours this year. We're going to be opened instead of doing every other weekend through October and November like we've done in the past. We're going to be open every week except for, obviously, Thanksgiving weekend. So that schedule will be shared as well. So we'll put that up. Friday afternoons from noon to 4 are for brush and leaves. And then instead of closing every other Saturday, we'll be open a couple additional Saturdays so people can still use the transfer station. Okay, let's see. Moving on. Engineering. There's still some issues with the trail from Southington to the Plainville line. There may be some litigation, so more to follow on that. Coming up, there's some blockage right now about extending the trail out to the Plainville line. So I'll have to report on that at our next meeting. If I'm around. at our next meeting, or someone will report from the Public Works Department. And then downtown Planceville, we did get some assistance from State Representative John Fusco, who did contact the Department of Transportation. So the wheels are in motion for downtown Planceville. We're trying to move the Department of Transportation along. That's really the only holdup at this point. We did have some new business items, which is a couple of the items are going to come up next. Mr. Chaplinsky is going to talk about the trail safety program, and we're going to talk a little bit later about the recommendations for the fire company roof, for Fire Company 2 roof. So, any questions? I don't know if I missed anything. Mr. Poulos, I don't know, or Mr. Chaplinsky, I don't know if I missed anything. Okay, very good. All right, Paul's going to give a presentation on the linear trail safety program.
Sure, that would be great.
Thanks. We do.
Yeah, it's the first Wednesday, it'll be the third.
Right.
Day after election day. Open space.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Madam Chair, I'll try to be brief on this. What I'm going to do is, this is the presentation that we went through at the Public Works meeting. So I'm going to move through it pretty quickly and just give you a flavor of what we've been doing the last few months, the topics we've been trying to cover. I'll move through that pretty quick, and then I'm going to get to the recommendations and slow it down a little bit, and I'll ask the head of Public Works, Annette Turnquist, to come up, and we'll recognize Dawn and give Dawn an opportunity as well. We've been all working together along with Councilman Chris Poulos and the rest of the team.
Thank you.
As an outcome of today's presentation, I think what we're going to be doing is asking for the next meeting. And that, right, we're not ready yet 100% on the first phase, but we're going to be asking at the next meeting, hopefully, for some approvals on phase 1 activities, and then hopefully have some more information on phase 2. So this is, what the initial meetings that we've had with the Linear Trail Safety Group. We started earlier in the year talking about some of the activities that were occurring in our communities along the linear trail and also adjacent to the linear trail. Motor vehicle thefts, burglaries, also safety along the trail. And we wanted to get together to talk about some of the things that we needed to do to improve these. So we established a team, we got together, we went through some brainstorming, we talked about some things that we wanted to focus on and some things that were in and out of scope. We went through and created a list of brainstorming activities, just, blurting it all out and figuring out what it was that we wanted to consider. We had some notes, and then we got into, some of the things that we wanted to do, and we recognized that there are going to be some things we're going to do pretty easily, pretty quickly, and there are also some things that we needed to do maybe to preempt some of the phase 2 activities. As an example, power at some of the nodes in our downtown we thought was going to be important along the linear trail. You'll see later on that some signage and maybe some digital signage or some traffic style lights, even for pedestrians, are some of the recommendations that we're looking at finalizing here in the weeks ahead. And so in order to do that, in order to facilitate that, adding power there, and that's where Dawn also stepped up and helped out to help us look at what types of funding might be available. So we'll let Dawn talk about that shortly. We identified some of the locations and what some of the possibilities at some of the locations were. And what I'll do is I'll pause here and I'll ask Annette to come on up and talk a little bit about the power locations, how we derived these, and some of our walkthroughs with some of the vendors that we're working with. I think you can just push the down here.
Okay, thanks. All right, so when the group first started meeting, we were thinking about the whole trail and many possibilities, but we quickly realized that was a pretty daunting task. So we narrowed down our area between basically Zingarella's and Factory Square. And we talked about lighting and cameras, and the common theme seemed to be we needed electricity out there. That seems to be the first thing that we need to accomplish. We arranged a site meeting with Eversource. We walked the trail. Well, first, actually, we walked the trail ourselves. We thought it was going to be easy because there are many poles along the trail. But as we got Eversource involved, a lot of the wires along the trail aren't energized, which we did not know. So we had a site walk with Eversource, and they were able to identify other possibilities for us to basically accomplish the same goals. So the locations we're looking at are South Center Street and West Center Street, an intersection with Railroad Avenue, East Summer Street, and then down by Zingarella's in the Summer Street area, we have 3 possible locations. We're going to pick one of the locations and kind of branch off from that, which will save us some money and still accomplish the same goal. Eversource gave us the option of going overhead or going underground to pedestal services. We are choosing to do the pedestal services underground because I think it'll look better along the trail. Basically, you know, there's a lot of components that go into this. We have to hire an excavator to dig the trench. We have to hire an electrician who runs the conduit, does a lot of the work for us. Eversource runs the wires, installs the equipment inside the pedestal enclosures. There are various fees. Of course, there's a fee for the electrician, for the excavation. Eversource charges a fee of $550 per service. Each service needs a meter, and that has a monthly fee of about $30 to $40. These are basically some sketches of our potential locations. Dawn and I walked the trail again the other day and fine-tuned these, but they are still in the general vicinity. Eversource was very helpful locating specific poles to come off of. So these are the areas we're considering. And I'll just talk briefly, you know, one of the things we talked about, we considered were cameras. Again, the power would have to be the first step. At this point, we feel that the cameras are cost prohibitive for what they really would provide. I think the cameras are a reactive sort of thing. We want to be a little more proactive in the beginning. So the electricity will set us up to maybe do it in the future, but for right now, it's not on the top of our list. Paul, do you want to come back for this part, or do you want Dawn to finish the electricity?
Dawn, do you have a preference where you go? All right, I'll finish up here. So in addition to the electrical, we talked about some of the safety concerns. And, you know, as a team in my discussions also with the chief of police, Chief Jaley, he also pointed out that, you know, one of the things that we have to consider when we consider linear trail safety is that in Connecticut, we also know that there's a new legislation that just came out that was effective October 1st, which gives pedestrians even greater right-of-way in some of the crossings in our state. And so to that end, you know, it also provides us an opportunity to step back and reflect and say, okay, what does that mean for pedestrians? What does it mean for automobiles as well? And is there anything we should be doing to consider additional safety, especially in light of some of the accidents that we have had along the trail, and maybe even some of the near misses that we aren't aware of? So we looked at, you know, each of the intersections, the major crossings across the linear trail and those associated roads. We've said, in this priority, we think that these would be good areas to focus on for increasing safety of pedestrians and motor vehicles. This is the Public Safety Act, so it's PA 2128. It was HB 5429, an act concerning pedestrian safety, in case anybody wants to look it up. And, you know, one of the things that came up in the Public Works meeting, and also, you know, some folks had gone and taken a look at the station in Cheshire as well. This is a system called the Hawk pedestrian. Our chief had reached out to Cheshire some time ago, quite a long time ago, to get information. He thinks this is a great idea, which is also one of the reasons why a similar system to this was included in our downtown Plantsville renovation project. So as that intersection gets worked on, hopefully, Mike, in the spring, right, downtown Plantsville, hopefully we'll get this going in the spring. We'll have something similar to a light notification system for both automobiles and pedestrians when people are crossing the road. I'll show a quick video of how this specific system works to give you an idea. This is the same system that operates in Cheshire, for those of you. Doesn't look like it's going to be kind. Oh, there we go.
That face, that is usually covered by her phone has finally made an appearance.
The pedestrian hybrid beacon, also known as the Hawk signal, normally shows dark indications to vehicular traffic and a solid hand indication signifying don't walk to pedestrians. Once she pushes the crosswalk button, Hawk wakes up by displaying flashing yellow to vehicular traffic. It then goes to solid yellow, which, similar to a normal traffic signal, means the signal is about to turn red. The pedestrian continues to see the don't walk signal. After the Hawk turns solid red, pedestrian signal changes to walk. Using caution, the pedestrian may now legally begin crossing. After the walk phase, a flashing don't walk phase accompanied by a numerical countdown will begin. Pedestrians may finish crossing if they had already started, but they may not start from the sidewalk. Vehicular traffic sees flashing red. Each vehicle must stop, but then may proceed if safe to do so without endangering pedestrians or other traffic. At this point, the Hawk signal reverts back to its default mode of being dark for vehicular traffic and displaying don't walk to pedestrians. Should another pedestrian push the button soon after the previous walk phase, there will be a predetermined time to allow vehicular traffic to clear before the sequence starts again.
So, as I had mentioned, a similar system to that is being designed and worked on by our town engineer. And
Hawk signals do not light up until someone pushes the button to activate them. The signal will start flashing yellow to alert cars that someone wants to cross, then a
Okay. Hopefully we've stopped that. Let's get back to the slide that we're on. Okay, so as I mentioned, the town engineering department is working with the DOT to ensure that we have a system similar to that system. It might look like the one in the lower right-hand corner. Those logistics are still being worked out. As we get closer to the spring, we'll know. You know, we also recognize that system is probably overkill for some of the other intersections as well. So, we looked at various different other safety types to slow down traffic of pedestrians as they're crossing the roads. So, we may use some of the electricity, for example, for additional signals, like caution signals along the trail or along the roads to just inform people that, there's a crossing there. And also consider some slowing systems down, such as the chicane systems that you see in the right-hand corner. These are just examples of different designs. Not one has been picked, but our town staff is going to be working in the weeks ahead to determine, which one of these or alternate systems might be even more effective than what we have today to ensure that people who might be moving fast into an intersection that are on a linear trail have an opportunity to slow down maybe more today than they're doing. Okay, and in addition, roadways as well. So notifications for roadways, signage, digital signage, et cetera. So the recommendations, we have incorporated the Hawk type system into the West Main Street. Town staff is looking at the pedestrian signage along the other areas of the trail, as well as some of the other safety features at each of the intersections, and considering all different types of avenues. And our hope is, we took a vote at the last Public Works meeting, so that in order to expedite these, the next presentation will be a final presentation with some costing back to Town Council for hopefully where we're going to go with this. Funding is still outstanding. We have to figure out where that comes from, but safety is paramount here. So we have to really look and dig deep to figure out how we're going to accomplish this and when we might be able to do that. Okay, and the rest is really just some details of the intersections, which we've talked about here. I'm going to turn it over to Dawn. There was a great opportunity with Dawn on the Linear Trail Safety Committee. As we were looking at power, Dawn raised her hand and said, we've all seen other needs for power. So while we're down there, maybe help us out. And Dawn, talk a little bit about her effort there.
Well, selfishly, I wanted to power the trail because, as you know, for the past 4 or 5 years, we started decorating the trail during the holidays, first for White Christmas in the community, and then last year we did it just to do it during the holiday season for a month and a half or so. And this year we have yet another great event planned for December and January. That's, I'm going to take a minute to plug it. That's our Reindeer Games Holiday Parade, where we will have 25 handcrafted wooden reindeer on display throughout the linear trail between Zingarella's and Lower Center Street. And those will be just for the walkers to admire. Each one will be painted uniquely. It's going to be something fun. But again, we do like to light that trail up. It's been fun. We have the great ornamental structures that we had specially made, and so many wonderful people in town have, including many of you on this board, have donated for them. Vicki, I saw a picture of you with our wonderful apple during the Apple Harvest Festival, and that's one of the structures that we put on the trail. So all of this dovetailed perfectly with this working subcommittee that was going on. So I reached out to the Community Foundation of Greater New Britain, which you all know it just is so terrific with our town and with our various needs. They helped out with the Rotary Playscape up at Memorial Park. And once again, they came through on this project. And, you know, really they see what a great project it is to be a part of, because for the entertainment value, so to speak, the recreational portion of it, but also part of this bigger plan that, you know, if we need to power this trail, this is the beginning of that. So between that and another private donation that we were able to get, we have $12,500 right now waiting to help pay for the electrician, to pay for these pedestal or power drops as they're called. And you know me, I'm hoping we're going to be able to get everything set by this December, because I don't have to. We've used generators in the past on the trail. They're very onerous, very expensive. Last year we ran electricity cords from Smoking with Chris allowed us to plug in, and Zingarella's allowed us to plug in. And I mean, you know, Paul, you helped us set it all up, and Annette, your crew helped us set it all up, and it was problematic. So hopefully this can happen. And again, it dovetails nicely with this, because it is the start of at least having some power on the trail. And that's it. So I hope you guys will look favorably at this. And one of the things that I've learned recently is that it will require excavation. So I'm going to be making some phone calls. I actually started texting while I'm here tonight to see if we can get some of that work donated. I don't know if it was Paul or Chris or Mike, but one of you guys said at your Public Works meeting last week, oh, well, maybe different companies can adopt a portion of the trail where we need, you know, it's a total of 450 linear square feet for the excavation, right? So, I mean, it's very minimal, very negligible. Hopefully we can get some of that donated as well. So we'll just keep making phone
I've got
calls.
some shovels. I got a rounded shovel,
Mike and I had texted that
pickaxe.
if that's what we need to do,
Mark will
I'll
help.
get my husband out there
Yeah,
too.
Well, Dawn, thank you so much for getting involved in the project.
My
And
father is a
thank
TV
you. Is there
repair-
anything else, Paul?
Ultimate
Thank
set
you,
of
Madam
tools.
Chair.
Okay, very good. Could we turn the lights on, please? Very good. So does that wrap up our Public Works?
It does, Madam Chair. Thank you very much for the time.
Good.
Oh, we have some questions, I
Can I
guess.
just ask a question?
Yes, please.
So, with what's going on with the plan that we just saw, I guess I have two questions. First of all, where are we at with the downtown Plantsville renovation? And the reason I bring that up now is because I'm wondering if there's any overlay between some of what we saw here and what was originally proposed in the downtown Plantsville renovation.
Yeah, Paul touched on that. Some of the hawk system that he showed here is really intricate and very expensive. So that's more down the road. But there are pedestrian signaling in place for the downtown Plantsville piece, for the crosswalk at Zingarella's. And
Yeah, you've all seen the plan, which has been with the state for a while. They keep perfectly honest with you, they keep adding new things of what we have to do. But if you're coming in an easterly direction, we have the road, it looks like it narrows, it doesn't, but it looks like it narrows, and then it goes into a crosswalk situation. It's not the Hawk system, but we do have safety devices there, which were designed by our engineer and approved by the state of Connecticut. So that whole section will be improved. We hope to go out to bid this spring, and hopefully the state will give us the green light.
Okay. And then the other thing, especially with like the safety measures, like you mentioned, has town staff weighed in and everything, like Chief Daly, any town staff that would have any type of impact to, components of the plan?
It's funny you say that because we got to figure out a way to pay for it.
Okay.
So the chief is in on those conversations as well, and
Yeah, the actual nuts and bolts of what actually is going to happen there has not been decided yet, but everything has a cost to it. My theory is everything needs to be budgeted. I'm not a big fan of using contingency funds unless it's an absolute emergency. So what happens is that the plan it puts in place, the council would approve of certain items. I cost it up with the police department and the public works division, and then obviously if the council wants it, it'll be placed in next year's budget.
If I could just add, what Mrs. Maselli described with the electrification, that's a conversation that we've been having on the Linear Trail Committee since its inception as kind of our tier one priority, and we have the funds for that. And so that is something we've agreed to and as a Linear Trail Committee and recommend to the Public Works. The other safety measures, like Mr. Chaplinsky said, are things that we're exploring, and there's costs and a lot of other details that we have to evaluate on the Linear Trail Committee, then recommend to Public Works, and then that would come to here. So that the community knows the electrification is well underway, and as described by Mrs. Maselli.
Very good. Yeah.
Madam Chair, so with the new pedestrian statute, I know you're looking at the other crosswalks, right? So that's my concern is like, say, the crosswalk at Mill Street.
all of them, Val, right?
Well, all of them.
All of
I mean, I've driven through, I'll stop and a car will be coming in the other direction and
Or how about the car behind you?
the car
And
behind
you
me. but-
stop and you're like, whoa, he's going to hit me.
Right. So I did some research on the new pedestrian statute. So how does that impact, like even not just crosswalks on the linear trail, but how does that impact like in the center of town? Nobody stops
Right,
there.
the police are very much involved with the statute. This is an increased pedestrian safety statute. We may not be aware. There was already a pedestrian statute in
Right, but
place.
this really,
And that someone like myself who walks that, which is probably the most traveled crosswalk in the town, running from the town hall to the town green, and the cars seem to go by there pretty fast. So it is an education process. I wish I can say that education process has been unbelievably successful. But yes, the pedestrians have had the right of way in an intersection or pedestrian intersection for many years. This is not new. This is something that's an enhanced thing. So once again, the police do the best they can, but those of us who drive automobiles should be well aware of the laws. And if someone's in an intersection or someone is beginning to walk into an intersection, they have the absolute right of way. And I just wish all the drivers would understand that. The trail intersections are important, but there are some significant intersections that we have with pedestrian crosswalks all over town that are much more traveled than those ones you're talking about. The big ones that everyone talks about is Plantsville Center and of course West Center Street. Those are the big ones that we have. So
and the new statute, the new law it's for marked and unmarked crosswalks.
Right.
yeah, if you could be
So-
crossing the street and if you
On an
raise your hand,
intersection.
you have the right of way at that point.
Right. So how do we educate the public on that? How do we?
Well, like everything we do with all the laws, we have them on. This one will be put on the police webpage, what probably already is, and then we put it on the town webpage. But it's the most important thing is, unfortunately, people have to get stopped, given warnings, and understand what it is. But I wish I can say that that's going to be 100% successful. It won't. There are going to be drivers out there, and you've seen it, where they're not going to
absolutely.
stop.
How about would there be any additional signage or lights or anything put up at some of the crosswalks?
Well, we have our marked crosswalks.
Right, I mean, they're just marked.
I'm
They're
not aware, I'm not aware of any additional signage being planned for that. I know that a lot of times we don't like to put a lot of signage all over the place, but certainly our chief traffic authority, Chief Daly, will look at the situation. But I'll comment that it came up at a council meeting. I'm sure he already knows it because he's probably watching right now, and we'll talk about it a little bit more.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other special committees reports? I don't think we have any other ones. Right now, we're going to go to the town manager's report and communications. Mark?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This dovetails into Mr. Del Santo's report, but the first thing I have for you is a recommendation for Company 2 roof. Those of you who are not familiar with our numbers, that's the one in Plantsville. It is a very popular volunteer station, and obviously want to make sure that the building is well maintained. And it was on our roof list for the last couple of years. And as you know, as your budget gets passed every year, you put money into the town-wide roof program. This is the next building up. So we're asking you to approve Millennium for a total of $119,075, which includes the cost of replacement plus a 10% contingency. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions of the town manager on that? I hear none. Thank you.
The second item is, by the way, this is Annette's second favorite thing. Snow removal is her favorite thing. So so we have our leaf removals. As you know, Mr. Del Santo already touched on that November 1st is going to start the first phase of our leaf process. We are asking the following to be approved, and as usual, we're going to approve everybody who bid, and we use them in the order based upon the least expensive to the most expensive. So with VACall with operator, Shaw Vac Services out of Plantsville, $95.75 an hour, and JV3 Construction for that same price. And it's too bad Mrs. Maselli just left because the Southington one did match the lower bid from out of town, and therefore they became the number one. So that was always dear to her heart. She was on the board. The second one is the VACall with operator and laborer, and that's JV3 Construction at $119 an hour. And then finally, the temporary labor. Let me just stop for a second. In your budget, the last couple of years, we've added temporary town employees to assist us with this to reduce the cost. And as you can see, the hourly rate's been going up on the third-party ones, so we use less and less of these. So over the next couple of years, hopefully we'll continue adding more temporary town employees at the time. And that is going to be Total Logistics, and that's at $22.65. And we're asking that all of them be approved, and then we'll use them obviously as needed, reverse order, based upon the cheapest to the most expensive. Is there any questions?
Any questions on this? Yes, Paul?
Just a comment back at letter A, Mark, just to confirm that went through the EasyIQ
That is
bidding
correct.
system, right? So that didn't go through a bidding process. We went and used the
Well,
EasyIQ system, which
I
is
don't
the
like to
lowest
phrase
bid.
it that way because
Yes.
people then comment.
If you don't mind just explaining
All right.
that system, because I
The
think that's important.
EasyIQC is a system where the state of Connecticut and its COGS, which is its Council of Governments, go out to bid. And they choose every 2 years, they go out to bid for many different projects. They choose a company for our region, and we have the right to choose that company without going through the town's required bidding, because the town's required bidding gives us the ability to piggyback on state and local bids. So that's how the system works. So to answer your question, it did go out to bid. We're using the bid that's for our CROG region.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the town manager on that? Okay. Does that conclude your report? Mark, you all
Yes,
set?
ma'am. I'm sorry, we do have 2 items for executive session, and there'll be no action outside of executive session.
Thank you. Before we close out your section, Mark, I did want to say something publicly as we get close to this is our second to the last meeting of this term. But I want to acknowledge you publicly on all the work you've done with us over the years, but specifically for this last term. The SAFER grant you oversaw. There's every single thing that has to have some sort of direction and focus. You have been there. And so I definitely and you have to deal with all 9 of us. All 9 of us who are a little stressful sometimes, who are a little upset, and you calm us down and get us refocused. And I wanted to just say publicly how happy we have been working with you and how you have inspired us and encouraged us, and we've learned much from you, especially this last 2 years. So thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I
I
speak
appreciate
for
that.
the entire council. Thank you. I hope I'm speaking for the entire council. Somebody
Well,
should like nod.
Different
Val.
Are you a Yankees fan?
He is a Yankee fan.
I know, because he's a Red Sox fan.
Let's move on to the town attorney's report. Jeremy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have anything for my report today.
What? Oh, no.
I didn't want to make the meeting go any longer.
Well, thank you so much, Jeremy. It's appreciated by all. Let's move on to our public communication. The microphone is open. We would ask that you would come, be respectful, and you have 5 minutes to state your case. And we are here to listen, not to engage necessarily, but to listen to what your concerns
George Roberge, 90 Applegate Road, Unit 141. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
The reason I'm here tonight was about the action with regards to the crosswalks and stuff like that. The presentation that was made. I lived in the province of Ontario for about 4 years. And they had a way of addressing. The way you did it, you came to where there was a crosswalk, and regardless of whether there was a light or not, you had to stick out your arm. Seeing that, you had to stop. They also had a lot of surveillance lights up there. You did not run an orange light. You stopped. They did not have the problem with the youth up there that we have in this town, who are looking for trouble the way we have. Youth crime in this town is wild. I live close to Queen Street. It's amazing to see people not even stop for red lights, no less the orange lights. Before you start spending any money at all, you should start and take a look at the whole matter. What these people talked about tonight is big, big bucks. Very big bucks. I don't see this costing less than maybe $1 million just to start it. If you take the intersections of this town and you put up signs, I don't think they're going to do a bit of good and somebody's going to get killed. I've seen this where it works and where it doesn't work. And in this town, I don't see police stopping anybody for running an orange light, no less a red light. If you've seen it, tell me so, please. It just doesn't happen. I've called Billy Palmieri so many times because I see police hiding over and back of the senior center all over this town. It's amazing what's going on in this town. Get with it, guys. The break-ins on cars, all the rest of this stuff. How many of them have been solved? Before you go spend any money, you got to solve the first problem as to what's causing this problem. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Do you get the message of what I'm talking about here? If you want to put up things, you better put up a camera to catch the violators and then issue tickets to them and call them into court. But anybody who crosses should have their arm out, and that should be the law. Now, the state is the one that's got to institute this and do it the right way. I've made proposals that on the highways we should put radar up on all the bridges, the signs, and everything else, and issue tickets for the speeders. Mr. Markley didn't agree. He thought it was a waste of money. You know, spending with my money is a serious matter. I was a management consultant. I was controller for the brass mills. And when I went in, I saved money. Capital money was a big deal with me. You had to justify it. You had to start a job. You had to bring it in on time with a payback after taxes of 12% and a payback time of 2.5 years. Things like a library for $20 million. You got to be kidding me. If you want to build a tech center or something like that that goes with the modern times, that's something. But a library is way out of question. And I know it's a waste of money. Something that starts off at $2 million and generates itself up to $20 million. You think I'll read something like that, Chris? Common sense tells me I won't read it. It's a waste of money. Take a look at these things, Mr. Town Manager.
George,
I look at the $115,000.
Excuse me, George. The timer went off, George. So
All right.
could you
I
just
want
wind
to
it up?
finish this one thing,
Okay.
Mrs. Town Manager. Do you know what makes up that $15,000 item by item? Somebody's going to have to know.
Talking about the roof?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right. It's right in the doc. I can give you the document. It breaks up exactly what the
Okay,
number is.
but what I'm saying, how much for the shingles? How much for the
I
labor?
can give you the whole document, George. I'll
I
give you
would
a
like
copy of
to
it.
see it.
Swing by my office. We'll talk tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It goes without saying, just for the record, that I do have some issues with some of the characteristics that, George, that you made specifically about our police officers. But I will reserve that for another time. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council? Richard, are you coming up? Good.
Richard Cooper, 79 Barbara Lane. Councilwoman, it's nice to hear that you were engaged with the governor. It's nice to know that, civic engagement is happening. You offered to have a cup of coffee with me once, and I do kind of regret not taking you up on that.
Offer's always open, Richard.
Might actually take you up on that. So I'm just going to read from other people's words tonight to kind of make my point. Hopefully I'll have enough time to tie it together, but we'll see. So first I want to read from the Republic of Plato. Is it not the work of the just man? It is not the work of the just man to harm either a friend or anyone else, but of his opposite, the unjust man. Have we any greater evil for a city than what splits it and makes it many instead of one, or a greater good than what binds it together and makes it one? And I'm jumping around, by the way, so sorry for not signing my pages. A few months ago now, the state senator had, he invited, I forgot his name, I'm sorry, but he invited someone here to talk. I don't want to get hung up on this, but I guess it was about CRT, right? No opinions on that. But he talked about oligarchies and kind of disagreed with what he said on the matter. So I'll use Plato to back up how I feel. What kind of arrangement do you mean by oligarchy? The regime founded on a property assessment in which the rich rule and the poor man has no part in ruling office. First, they seek out expenditures for themselves and pervert the laws in that direction. They themselves. Next, I suppose one man sees the other and enters into a rivalry with him. From there, they progress in money-making, and the more honorable they consider it, the less honorable they consider virtue. Instead of men who love victory and honor, they finally become lovers of money making and money. They praise and admire the wealthy man. Excuse me. The wealthy man, and bring him to the ruling offices while they dishonor the poor man. John Steinbeck, The Grapes of Wrath. This one's just a little excerpt from page 151. Fear the time when man's self will not suffer and die for a concept. For this one quality is the foundation of man's self, and this one quality in man distinctive in the universe. And my point here, just in case I can't finish, is that I really think we need to be working together more. The separate branches of government could certainly collaborate more. I think there could be more accountability, more leadership, perhaps. Not that you do a bad job, Councilwoman. I actually respect you a lot, but like that. The youth in this town do need better examples. What happened at the apple harvest was not okay. So now I'm going to read from Lord of the Flies. This is probably where I'll get cut off, but hopefully I'll have enough time to make my point with this. Page 181. The rock struck Piggy a glancing blow from chin to knee. The conch exploded into 1,000 white fragments and ceased to exist. Piggy, saying nothing, with no time for even a grunt, traveled through the air sideways from the rock, turning over as he went. The rock bounded twice and was lost in the forest. Piggy fell 40 feet and landed on his back across a square red rock in the sea. His head opened and stuff came out and turned red. Piggy's arms and legs twitched a bit, like a pig's after it has been killed. Then the sea breathed again in a long, low sigh. The water boiled white and pink over the rock, and when it went sucking back again, the body of Piggy was gone. This time the silence was complete. Ralph's lips formed a word, but no sound came. Suddenly, Jack bounded out from the tribe and began screaming wildly, See, that's what you'll get. I meant that. There isn't a tribe for you anymore. The conch is gone. I'm chief now.
Thank you, Richard.
We shouldn't be savages. We need to treat each other better. We don't want to be Lord of the Flies. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the council this evening? Hearing none, we're going to close public communication. Thank you, everyone. Let's get right into the rest of our old business. Item A, I'm looking for an action on the recommendation for the fire 22 roof.
Motion to approve, Madam Chair.
Second,
Second
Madam
that,
Chair.
Madam Chair.
Okay,
Or
so
Val.
Paul made the motion and Mike, you seconded it. Is that correct? Is there any other further discussion on the matter before we go to vote? Hearing no other further discussion, let's move the motion. Madam Clerk?
Morelli? Yes. Palmieri?
Yes.
Ulis?
Yes.
Chaplinsky?
Yes.
Del Santo?
Yes.
DiPaolo?
Yes.
Dietzick?
Yes.
Lombardi?
Yes.
Triano?
Yes. Item B, action on the bid for the fall leaf pickup vac from All Rental.
Madam Chair, I'll make that motion to approve.
Thank you, Michael.
Second, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Val. Made the second. Any other further discussion on this matter? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Morelli?
Yes.
Palmieri?
Yes.
Ulis?
Yes.
Chaplinsky?
Yes.
Del Santo?
Yes.
DiPaolo?
Yes.
Dietzick?
Yes.
Lombardi?
Yes.
Triano?
Yes. And finally, item C, action on the bid for fall leaf pickup temporary laborers.
Motion to approve is presented.
Thank you, Chris. Anybody? Second from Mr. Morelli. Thank you so much. Any other further discussion on this? Hearing none, let's call the roll. Thank you.
Morelli?
Yes.
Palmieri?
Yes.
Ulis?
Yes.
Chaplinsky?
Yes.
Del Santo?
Yes.
DiPaolo?
Yes.
Dietzick?
Yes.
Lombardi?
Yes.
Triano?
Yes, thank you all. They all passed unanimously. New business, tax refunds. Val, could you do that for us tonight?
Sure, Madam Chair, I will make a motion that we approve the tax refunds that are outlined packet tonight.
Second.
Second by Mr. Dietzick. Thank you so much. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you so much. Finally, our last adjournment motion. May I have it, please?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to adjourn to go into executive session, barring the press and the public.
I'll second.
Real estate and contractual matters with the council, the town manager, the town attorney, and Mr. Massimino.
And Madam Chair, and there's no action after.
And there's no action.
I'll second
But
that.
please, Madam Clerk, would you just amend it to include what Mark said? He added barring the press and public, however, inviting Mr. Massimino. Very good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey, thank you, everybody.
Aye.
We'll see you soon. Take care. Thanks, Council.
Oh, I loved your video on the lock system.